Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for a stage of the ages. Nah, it's not true. It's just stage 17 of the Tour de France, a transition stage from Boulogne to Valence, 160 Ks, rain forecasted at the finish, otherwise flat at the start. And it's got two categorized climbs, two category fours, but we got a tied peloton. We've got, teams with maybe they got some rouleurs like a Jonas Rutsch who Wanty would use to control, who's crashed, or Zimmermann's crashed out for Wanty, or Trek of, there's some teams are just down on manpower. But those two climbs, they look inconsequential. This is like a nailed on sprint stage, 3.7 Ks, 5%. It's 100 Ks from the finish. The last one's 4 Ks, 3.5%. They go up that at 40 Ks an hour. That's still 45 Ks from the finish. So let's set the scene for the green jersey. Okay. Before this stage, 50-point stage, intermediate sprint, 20 points. Milan Benji, Trek. This is do or die because Champs-Élysées, Milan looks like shit, like uphill. They have to make this a sprint.
I think so as well. That is the aim, of course. And if you think about other teams for a second, so you just set the scene that little Trek will want to control break formation, wants a small breakaway, and wants to be able to control that breakaway, so the stage ends in a sprint. Next to that, Quickstep is now without Remco Evenepoel, so they also have interest in getting a sprint with Tim Merlier. Or do they want to go in the breakaway with Pascal Inkhorn, who was close to winning a stage at the Tour de France in the past? I think they choose Merlier over that. That's my personal guess before the stage starts. And we see that in break formation. We see those teams trying to control break formation. I feel like Alpecin was doing the same for Groves maybe a little bit, and that's where we do see a difference in working structure. As in, we've spoken about break formation quite a lot on this podcast in the past, and I still feel like we see the difference between an experienced sprinting team, which I think of Quickstep when I think of that. I think of Alpecin when I think of that. Little Trek, I still feel like is in the transition of that. And we see that in break formation because I don't know about you, Patrick, but I did not feel like Little Trek was doing a perfect job of trying to create a small breakaway. Because if you look at Quickstep, they see two riders going off the front, maybe two other riders trying to jump, and they try to make it a small breakaway of 3-4 riders, maybe the French teams, Total Energy, whatever, UNOX, whatever it is, and then they jump on anything that tries to bridge to that, to prevent that bridging from happening, and then Simmons responds to Quickstep. But before this race, you know what your allies are, right? Like, if you're Little Trek, you know that Quickstep is your ally in controlling break formation. So if Quickstep is doing the work controlling that group, Simmons shouldn't be focusing on that. He should be focusing on trying to counter the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Or when a group was gone of 6 with Simmons, Trek were also then chasing that from the peloton. It's like, conserve your bullets. This might be a long jumping phase. In the end, I think a lot of teams hedged their bets today and were happy with either outcome. So if there was a bigger break, Alpecin tried to get in with Vermeersch in a group of 5. So Alpecin still try to play the 2 horses because they know Groves is not the favorite.
Yeah.
Van Aert's trying to get in, not jumping, but if a bigger group goes, he's trying to be in. Israel, do nothing. Wanty, do nothing. A lot of teams, Jayco, they don't jump, but they don't control because they're like, okay, I still would like to see Schmidt in this break, Benji. The problem is there's like the human aspect that you've Dylan Groenewegen, you brought him to the race, you pay him a lot of money, you bring him with a lead out. There's been almost no sprinting opportunities. He has hauled his ass through the mountains, and then you're like, actually, we're also going to go in the break with Schmidt today. Just from a human perspective, that won't work.
But does a sprinter then not understand? Does Groenewegen then not understand that if Mauro Schmidt goes into the breakaway,
it probably
this puts pressure on Little Trek and so forth? And in doing so, it actually benefits Groenewegen if it ends up being a sprint, because Little Trek will be less strong for the lead out at the end of the race because they've spent it on chasing Schmidt. Like, it sometimes feels like the teams have this like plan A strategy and don't hedge their bets enough because they want to do that plan A, like you said, for people management purposes, etc. But if you explain it properly to the rider, then I assume they will understand. Nonetheless, that is not really relevant for today, really, because we get a small breakaway. We get a small breakaway of Mathieu Burgodeau, Albanese, Abrahamsen, and Pacher, and that's it for break formation. Get a minute, then one more rider tries to jump, Axel Laurence. He gets chasse patated, so he's stuck in the middle of it, drops back to the peloton. We see some more jumping in the peloton, but that is controlled by the teams we already mentioned. And that is the breakaway of the day until we get to the first climb of the day, Patrick. And on the first climb of the day, we see activities in the peloton. And I was riding my bike on the indoor trainer. I was doing a nice zone 2 tempo. I look back up to my screen and I see Romeo not doing a zone 2 tempo up that climb. Simmons was doing like the tempo to try and gradually keep the breakaway at roughly a minute. Romeo goes to the front, starts hammering it, and it actually creates a split on this first climb.
Ineos went first.
Was it Ineos first?
Yeah. Ineos did a full team lead out. Like full team, like Swift, Thomas. They then went Laurence before Foss. And then then Romeo, then everyone, unfortunately for them, counted off them. The gap went down to like 25 seconds to the front. And Simmons is sewing it all up. Like Quinn Simmons, MVP here. Quinn Simmons, probably if he gets freedom in this stage to go with this group, it goes away. They get to the break. He plays for a top 3. And he knows that. But he sews it all up. Sturven also excellent sewing it up. Romeo jumping. And it doesn't go anywhere. But 3.5K, 6%. Milan's on a minute. A minute from the front. Now, that's from the front of the peloton to him. So, in reality, it's like probably 45 seconds. So, he gets put on a big gap here. And it takes a very long time for the versatile sprinters teams to start pulling. And I think, because Trek didn't drop riders back, Milan had no one pulling. It was Quickstep who then stopped. And if Alpecin, Tudor, Picnic, and whoever, just those guys who they took it up, they were really pulling. If they started that 3 minutes earlier, I think, because Simmons did a death pull to get them across. He was sprinting across when he and Schoens waited. Probably Milan comes back anyway, but it's some good entertainment. It stops. The gaps the breakaway goes back out to a minute.
One small detail, on that first hill during that Ineos Romeo action, we saw Wout van Aert already jumping into moves a little bit. And I was like, okay, this must mean that he's not all out looking at a potential sprint at the end of the stage. He's looking at, okay, could it be a sprint? Or could I try and jump in some group that could make it to the front? Then maybe it's a breakaway action. So looks like Wout van Aert was hedging his bets a little bit at this point. That was a first indication. But like you said, the gap goes out to the breakaway, whatever, it comes back together in the peloton. We come to one of the next hills, and then I don't really know what Wout van Aert was doing. Because then he just attacks off the front of the peloton. Well, the gap to the breakaway is like a minute. And at the end of the day, no one reacts to him. Maybe he hoped that someone would react to him, but I'm sorry, it's the last week of the Tour de France. He's gotten a podium in a sprint in this race.
Yeah, but there's rain forecasted. So I think with the rain forecasted, he was thinking maybe the break takes it, or maybe he didn't want to sprint in the rain.
Victor Kampenaerts can do that. Wout van Aert can stay in the peloton. It doesn't all need to be Wout van Aert doing both jobs. You can have Kampenaerts jump in those moves and have Wout for the sprint, and I think that would have been a nice balance.
I think Kampenaerts and the others were on protect Jonas Vingegaard 100% duties today with the rain forecast.
Utter woke nonsense.
And I think, I agree though, Benji. Like, where are you going? Like, although...
If someone jumps with you, maybe.
Castrillo Romeo, I would say another EF. If you're EF, you get another one in there. Schmid, yeah. Then you got something to work with, but in the end, it's a fool's errand, and Van Aert gets called, or waits for the peloton, gets called by the peloton. Luke is defending Wout Van Aert, saying normally there should have been more guys to jump there, and maybe he was expecting that after the first climb. To me, it looked like there was a sprint, and there's too many sprinters teams reeling it back in. And it's a 3% climb. So,
mate, the second it was a 4-man break at the start of the stage, I was like, okay, it's nap time. But instead of napping, I jumped on the bike.
Well, I thought it was nap time until 10Ks to go, when maybe they don't reel them in, like Asgren and Kampenaerts even, maybe Moritz 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and Inkhorn.
the rain, I think, helps the sprinters teams because the GC teams obviously get very, very nervous. Trek pull, they stop, they conserve their lead out. The break gets whittled down. The break attacks itself. Abrahamson goes clear, of course. Wellens goes to the front. He starts smashing it. Affini's there with Vingard and Pogacar. The gap's down to 9 seconds. It's like 5Ks to go, and then they just reel him in. And Abrahamson's reeled in. Jaco at the front really, really early, like super, super early with Groenewegen, with Mezgets on the front. And then it's a mess. It's raining. We're praying for no crashes. And there's a massive crash. We saw Merlier was trying to track Milan. It's a long straight here. Merlier's trying to track him. He loses him. And Merlier didn't have Bert with him. Bert was ahead, I think.
Yeah, on the right.
Sturven moves Milan up just at the last moment with like 1,400 to go. And as he does that, about 3 rows behind, massive crash. Binny's caught up in it. He looked like he broke his collarbone. It's like Penaway. No, he makes it with Russo. They both top 10, which is strange.
Who was the Groupama rider on the left side of the road then? Maybe
probably Askey.
Cyril Bart or something?
Askey or
I
Bart.
don't know. Askey, true.
And then it's going to be a sprint of 10 guys. Milan makes it. We've got Fedorov leading out Ballerini. I'm telling you, Astana should have brought Cantor here. They got 2 cracked lead-outs, but no sprinter. Then it's Mayus in the wheel. It's a bending right-hander with the tailwind, and it's wet. All 3 of those factors benefit going early because you can get the inside line of the bend if you go early. You've got the tailwind, and wet. It being wet just means more shit can happen behind you, and maybe people can't get up to speed as quickly as in the dry or deviate as quickly. And Mayus waits. He's waiting. I'm like, when's he going to jump? Milan can go from far and he can jump around him. He never jumps. And Milan launches, and he does it perfectly and legitimately, boxes in Mayus by sprinting directly next to Ballerini. And then Mayus has to stop his sprint. He and Deli then fight for the wheel of Milan. Deli has to check his sprint. Mayus has to restart his sprint to the left of Milan. He's coming back to Milan, but not quick enough. Milan wins. I think Sturven saved the day for Milan here. Trek deserved it because they controlled the whole stage. But I think Mayus is going to be having nightmares about this sprint tonight, Benji. Because if he goes early or just on time, then I think he wins this sprint, or it's very, very close against Milan.
Mayus, I look at both Mayus and Deli in this situation. Because Deli
Benji's
looks strong
internet's
in the
really
run into
bad.
the sprint.
Hold on.
You can't hear me, buddy? Can you hear me on the other side?
Now I can hear you.
Patrick? Okay, here we
The
go.
Belgians, the Flemish public nerfed your internet because I think you're about to say Mayus.
Yeah, I was about to roast Arnaud Deli and Jordi Mayus. Now, Arnaud Deli, I think, is also on the book of people that will regret today a little bit. He's been so much stronger in the last week, but towards the end of the stage, in the run into Milan launching, etc., when he was on the wheel of Milan, that little moment where he looks to be riding into the wheel of Milan, whatever it was, that takes momentum out of him, and I reckon he might have actually been competitive as well. So it's Jordi Mayus and Arnaud Deli that could have played a different role here. It's also sprinting in the wet, so we can't neglect the fact that people are a bit more careful in trying to pass somebody, so the speed at which they can overtake others is on paper a bit lower, I would say. But yeah, at the end of the day, Jonathan Milan takes it. So Jordi Mayus and Arnaud Deli can be unhappy about their sprint, but I would say that I am looking at both of those for Montmartre stage, though. Is that a right thing to say?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not to preview it now, but it's a 1K 1K 5% hill that's cobbled. Like, Deli in good shape. Deli in good shape dropped everybody on the Moor.
Yeah.
It was a 1K 5%. If he's still coming into the race with good legs.
Van der Poel is out of this race.
Yeah.
So that's a rider that is less eager to attack that climb. There's still other people in the peloton that will be eager to climb on, to attack on Montmartre. Even Pogacar might be down to attack Montmartre. You never know. Stuff like that. Visma might try and attack Montmartre, just seeing if Pogacar is in Narnia or something. Stuff like that. But I still think that would be a passive sprint. But just to round up today before we get to other stages, Jonathan Milan winning the sprint, taking about, 13, 11 points at the intermediate sprint as well throughout the stage. Combining that, if we then take a look at the results of this green jersey, top 10 first?
Top 10, Milan wins ahead of Meus Lund Andresen, came from the back with speed third. Also valuable UCI points. Picnic are having a magic Tour de France. They couldn't have dreamed of such a good tour, I think. Deli fourth, Ballerini fifth, Dainese sixth, Penway seventh, Fedorov eighth. He'll probably get a yellow card because he finished his lead out, then deviated. He should get a yellow card, especially in the wet. That was unacceptable. Although I do like Fedorov. He is class rider. Russo 9th, Sturven 10th. And to your point, Benji, yes, indeed, Milan, where is he in the green jersey battle right now?
Well, if we take a look at the points, then I'm sorry, but he has 312 points, Pogacar 240. I think it might be over. That's a gap of 72 points. If we count the next mountain stage, that is 20 points per mountain stage. Hypothetically, Milan can also take some intermediate sprint points in one of them, if I recall correctly. And then you've got Montmartre stage, which fits Milan. I don't know if it fits Milan, to be honest, but I don't expect Pogacar to take 50 points there either. So I'm looking at the only opportunity for Pogacar to win green is if he literally wins on the Champs-Élysées.
Yes, or... Fuck, man.
Or if he tries to go it elsewhere, but I don't expect that.
Yeah, it's if he's somehow forced to take intermediate points on any stage, but he's been...
The easiest moment to do that would have been today.
I wish Pogacar had got taken some intermediate points.
Yeah, no, we had a battle to talk about.
Well, we have had a battle to talk about, but like, it is weird seeing a green jersey winner who like can't pass a 3K 5% hill.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, it is strange. Like Philipsen, as you said, Benji, he would have walked it, but woulda, shoulda, coulda. Woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Gotta finish the race.
And Trek will be celebrating tonight.
Patrick, I'm gonna roast someone here. I'm going on a rant. I'm sorry, but you can take your cup of coffee, whatever. I'm going. What is the quote that you always said back in the day? Benji, take a coffee.
Get yourself a cup of coffee, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going for a rant. So, we've got this breakaway. Abrahamsen is clearly the last remaining rider from this breakaway. Jonas Abrahamsen, the strongest rider in this breakaway. Why does ASO keep giving the combativity award away with 20, 30 kilometers to go when you don't know who's going to be the best rider in the breakaway yet? Quentin Pacher gets combativity today based on the fact that he's French? I don't fucking know. Abrahamsen was the strongest. He should be getting it. Give it when they cross the finish line. There we go.
Respect France.
I don't care about which country. I care about the panache, buddy.
Yeah. And Abrahamsen doesn't have panache. He's just
That's bullshit.
Why do you attack the break?
For the combativity that he's not getting.
He should have stuck with Albanese and Bergado.
They should have had better legs than they could follow.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point. Anyway, this stage probably won't go down in the history books, but they all count the same. W's on the scoreboard. So little Trek keep winning. And Milan takes the second stage. And as long as he finishes this race and takes the bare minimum at the intermediates, that should indeed be the green jersey for him wrapped up. But let's talk about tomorrow's stage. 172 kilometers, the most climbing of any of the stages in this Tour de France so far. They pass 1,900 meters 3 times. They do 35 Ks uphill, false flat valley. There's 23 Ks in. There's an intermediate sprint. Milan will probably try to get the break there. Maybe Trek keep it together. They then begin the Col du Glandon, which is a climb in 3 parts. Most of the climbing is actually at over 8%. It's 21 Ks at 5%, but most of the climbing is over 8%. And then there's a descent. No valley, really. And then they do the Col de la Madeleine. That goes up to nearly 2,000 meters. Both of those are HC climbs, by the way, so Lenny will want to be in the break. Madeleine is 20 Ks, 7.8%. Pretty regular. There's no like rampas anywhere. Descent, valley of 15 kilometers before they begin the Courchevel Col de la Loze climb. It's a different side this year. It's slightly easier than the 2023 side, I think.
Yep.
Oh, I know. And it's more regular. So it's just like a lot of 6-7%. And then the last 5Ks, there begins some ramp ups, or particularly in the last 3Ks. It goes up to 2,300 meters. That's pretty high altitude. The tour last year, I went up to Glibier. Yeah, it's pretty high altitude. And it's the last chance saloon for well, not the last chance saloon for Vingegaard, but
nah,
you got to try tomorrow.
Exactly. And first of all, you pointed at it perfectly. Lenny Martinez needs to go in the breakaway because those HC climbs will be super important for him to beat Pogacar. If Pogacar wins both on Col Los and La Plagne, Lenny Martinez needs these points 100%. And also the day after, he will have to go in the break again for the first 2 climbs again. But of course, it's still possible for an Arensman to also go in the break and also go for these points. So Arensman should be doing the same. He's also not that far off when it comes to KOM, I'm pretty sure. And then look at GC. And there we had on the rest day, Jonas Vingegaard said, I'm willing to sacrifice my second place to try to win this Tour de France. Now, you and I both agree that sacrificing his second place, he's basically 4 minutes ahead of Lipovic roughly. So sacrificing won't necessarily be the case even if he goes all out on a certain climb. You can't take back 4 minutes and 15 seconds unless Pogacar collapses somewhere by waiting for the final climb on both stages. Now, looking at both stages, you've got the second last climb here, on this stage specifically, Col de la Madeleine, which is a hard climb. 19 kilometers, 7.8%, first half is up to 9%. That is a really steep climb. Of course, if you want to attack on Col de la Madeleine, you will need satellite riders up the road. For that, you'd have to send someone into the breakaway, 2 riders preferably on the Col du Glandon, the first climb of the day, to have enough of a gap over the top of the Glandon and towards the Madeleine to be relevant after the Madeleine. So on UAE side, they can also look at that and say, okay, we need to try and keep the break close enough to make it irrelevant on the Madeleine. If it's only a minute and a half ahead, good luck Vingegaard of getting those riders over the Madeleine, unless it's one of the better climbers like a Simon Yates or something, or a resurrection of Jorgensen, which I don't see coming based on the fact that he was kind of nowhere yesterday. Now, that is one thing, but on the other hand, I'm also looking at the stage afterwards with the Col du Pré, which is the third last categorized climbs, but kind of the second last climb if you look at the profile, which is also very steep in the last segment, as also a last resort early attack in the race. So Vingegaard does not necessarily have to go early tomorrow on the Madeleine, but if he doesn't, it will all come down to stage 19, and it all coming down to one stage. That is scary. So I hope Jonas Vingegaard and Visma Leasebike go all in tomorrow, and I think if they wait for Col Los, then I'm not so sure anything will happen in their positive direction. So I need early action tomorrow from Visma.
Well, yeah, you can't. Pogacar just hasn't really looked like he's had a problem at all this year. And yeah, we'll see tomorrow. It's 2 hard stages, 10,000 meters of climbing coming up across 2 days. We'll see if Pogacar wants to go for the stage. We'll see if anybody attacks when he's peeing in break formation, because that's a never-ending story at the moment. Because, yeah, Pollard said today, when he was asked about it this morning, he said to Sportser that he was mad because despite him and Pogacar being back in the peloton, he was actually arguing for the 30 or 40 guys who were coming back in the cars, because when the yellow jersey stops for a pee, you shouldn't attack.
Wait, is this about Pollard yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck that story. He has no defense there, I'm sorry.
The reality is, when Pollard goes to the back, it takes him 1 hour to get back to the front. And so he's like, we stop for a pee. He's like, bro, you take... Well, I mean, I know German, but people are like, why are you being so harsh on him? Super Rouleau Pollard,
I'm sorry.
Where is he in the last 10Ks today? 2 most valuable riders for Pogacar, Narvaez and Wellens. Wellens, this Tour de France, unbelievably good.
I agree with you, but Pollard has been great at doing work at the front of the peloton, etc. Sure, he wasn't able to control a 38-rider breakaway yesterday, which I also don't expect him to do, but I think it's very valid criticism what we had yesterday on what he did at the front of the peloton. towards other riders that are trying to attack. And I have that same opinion about every rider that does that. We've had that discussion numerous times on the podcast whenever a rider does that. And at the end of the day, that discussion is the past for me. So we'll see if he does it again in the future. But I had my opinion on it, and we'll see tomorrow what he does in break formation. So he will be relevant tomorrow in trying to control.
Yeah, hugely important stages coming up for UA to control.
Especially because the way they usually work is that Soler and Wellens are usually responsible for the initial break formation, and then Pole takes over afterwards, right? To set tempo to try and control the breakaway. So Wellens and Soler will be important for the fast spot, which is trying to prevent Visma riders from going into the breakaway. And then afterwards, if a breakaway has started, which it will, a break will form tomorrow that is large, then it's going to be on Pole to try and keep it close enough, and then we'll see if Vingegaard and Visma are planning something on tomorrow's stage. But I said it already, 4:15 is the gap. You can't take that back unless Pogacar capitulates somewhere, and therefore I'd rather see some early action, which it's not a necessity for Visma to do that tomorrow yet, but I'd rather see it because then they're actually sacrificing things to potentially win this Tour de France.
So who's your stage pick?
My stage pick is Tadej Pogacar.
I'm going to go with...
Come on, go with Jonas. You know you want to do it.
I'll go with Vingegaard. I think it's going to be a hard stage. I think...
Also,
yeah, I'll go with Vingegaard. I think Vingegaard takes some time back tomorrow. Not enough, but I think he takes some time back and wins the stage.
For the sake of the Tour de France, I want it to happen. I want him to take back...
Even if he
want him to take back 2 minutes.
Even if he takes back 10 seconds tomorrow, then the next stage, you know you're going to have a massive fight again because no one takes 10 seconds on Pog.
And also, we're talking about this for this Tour de France, but the last week of this Tour de France isn't just relevant for this Tour de France. We're looking at what the ceiling could be for Jonas Vingegaard next year or the year after, because last year we saw the ceiling of Tadej Pogacar up till now. We saw Plateau de Bay, Isola 2000, we saw Mont Ventoux this year. Those are epic climbing performances of the highest level, some of the best ever in the sport of cycling. Then we want to ask ourselves, how close can Jonas Vingegaard get to those epic performances of Pogacar of last year? And question for you, Patrick. If you look at the data on Mont Ventoux, you look at Vingegaard and Pogacar, you look at Plateau de Bay last year, and also next to Plateau de Bay, Isola 2000. How close was Vingegaard's performance yesterday in terms of watt per kilo on Mont Ventoux, if we can compare it, which the climbs are never the same, relative to a Plateau de Bay Isola 2000 performance of Pogacar?
Well, no, not the same as Pogacar Isola, no.
Yeah.
Plateau de Bay was, his best, so no, not the same as Plateau de Bay.
So there's still this margin that Jonas needs to get better on paper based on what we've seen to compete with the best possible Pogacar in the world. And that is why these last stages are not just important for this Tour de France, because if we see Vingegaard getting better compared to the last 2.5 years of cycling, to his best potential ever in the next 2 stages, that gives us an indication of how close he can be for next year. And the closer he is for next year, the more of a battle we have next year as well, you know?
Exactly. I do think Vingegaard's performance yesterday was quite good, considering that he, like the track standing aspect, they both could have gone a lot faster if one of them got dropped, then they go faster to the top. So it would have been an even better performance on the raw numbers.
But Visma Leasebike needs to change the order of their train, in my opinion. Simon Yates and Kuss need to be turned around. It's twice now in the Tour de France that Simon Yates lost less long than Kuss. Now, it is possible that tomorrow on the off chance Simon Yates has a very good day and suddenly is better than Sepp Kuss, because Simon Yates is also a top-level climber. But on average in the Tour de France, I'd have them switch it around. And you got to find a way. I don't know what's up with Jorgensen, but they got to find a way, if Jorgensen has anything left, that he can actually be useful for the team, because he was not on Mont Ventoux.
Exactly. You got to use all the riders up in the right order. It's tough to know, like, who will climb better on a given day, although it looks like Kuss is the best climbing domestique so far. And we'll see a big ding-dong battle tomorrow, Benji. I think, it's going to be exciting. I mean, 3 big coals like that, it's going to be carnage.
Mate,
and
no
the weather,
naps.
I think the weather is really, really shit.
Ooh.
So, like, really cold.
Back in the day, we'd say that's Pogacar territory then.
But then, I think everywhere's Pogacar's territory, Benji.
Yeah, that's true.
Because on Haute
I'm sorry, where was he today in the final sprint? I didn't see him.
Yeah, exactly. When you look on PCS before they update the results, he lost a minute. But the weather forecast has improved. It's improved. It was like single-digit temperatures on the descent of Madeleine a few days ago was the forecast. It's now 11 degrees, which 11 degrees at 2,000 meters is not bad. If it's not raining, that's like decent. So should be all right. Don't know about the rain. And we'll see tomorrow. But hopefully the Tour de France is still alive after tomorrow. But maybe it's another poggy stomp. Hope you enjoy the recap of the sprint stage. And we'll see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.